Okay, let's get into this. We have just finished, a massive deep dive into this collection of recipes, the most wanted quick recipes. And this isn't just, a list of fast dishes. It really feels more like a study in getting the most output with the least amount of input.
It really is. I mean, it's almost like a manifesto for efficiency in the kitchen.
That's a great way to put it.
And when you look at the sheer volume here, we're talking everything from these really sophisticated sauces to no-bake desserts, hearty beef mains, even poultry dishes that taste incredibly complex.
Right.
The mission for us today really is to pull out the principles. How do these recipes actually manage to balance that robust flavor, that lightning speed, and, ingredient complexity without you having to spend hours in the kitchen?
That balances everything.
Mm.
I feel like if traditional cooking is all about starting from scratch, building flavor slowly, this is different. This is about strategic leverage.
Yes, leverage is the perfect word.
They're replacing these really time-consuming tasks, like making a stock from scratch or, God forbid, making your own pastry.
Right, forget it.
And they're swapping them with these incredibly smart choices, things like using high-fat ingredients for instant richness or leaning really heavily on the complexity that's already built into store-bought stuff.
And what's so fascinating is that the convenience, it's not just a side effect, it's the entire foundation. It's the whole architecture of the recipe. Every single one we looked at is a shortcut, a cheat code really designed to get you a very specific result, whether it's comfort food or some global flavor, using the absolute fastest method possible.
So for you, the listener, I guess understanding this deep dive is really about understanding how to be well-informed when you're short on time.
Exactly. It's about recognizing where the whole culinary process has been engineered for maximum efficiency.
Absolutely. And we're going to unpack those engineering principles. So our roadmap today, we're going to start with the foundational stuff, the sauces, the spreads, the things that set the flavor tone. Then we'll get into the magic of speed and comfort in the dessert world. After that, we'll hit the strategies for rapid savory mains, first beef, then chicken and seafood.
And then we'll wrap up with the ultimate low-friction options, the breakfast hacks and those super quick appetizers.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning with the bedrock of so many quick meals. The foundational elements.
The sides, the dips, the sauces.
Exactly. And these recipes, they immediately show the central principle of this whole collection, which is just minimum ingredients, maximum flavor.
And there's really nowhere else to start but the classic benchmark for richness, the Alfredo sauce.
Right. A good Alfredo it can be tricky.
It's notoriously delicate. You need really careful temperature control to get the cheese and dairy to emulsify without the sauce, breaking on you.
I've been there. It's not pretty.
But this quick version, it achieves that richness almost instantly.
Okay, so let's break it down. The recipe calls for 1/4 cup of butter, 1 crushed garlic clove, then you add a cup of thick cream.
And then a really substantial amount of cheese. It's 1.5 cups of freshly grated Parmesan, plus 1/8 of a cup of chopped fresh parsley.
And the whole thing comes together in about 5 minutes of simmering before you do the final whisk. So what's the insight here? Why does this work so fast?
It's the high-fat content. That's the key. The butter and the thick cream, they act as a fantastic stabilizing agent.
Okay.
In a slower, more traditional recipe, you might use, say, a starch or a really low simmer to gently build that sauce structure. Here, the sheer volume of fat plus all that Parmesan, it lets the emulsion happen really quickly and stably, even at a higher heat. You're just bypassing the long reduction step entirely.
Well, wait, is there a trade-off? If a 5-minute simmer replaces a 20-minute reduction, are you losing some depth of flavor?
You are, but that's where the high volume of those strong, fresh ingredients compensates.
Yeah.
You lose the nuance of a slow, kind of caramelized reduction, but you gain this immediate intense saltiness and umami from 1.5 cups of fresh Parmesan. It's a really effective trade-off. You get speed in exchange for pure, concentrated cheese flavor.
I can live with that. Okay, so moving from intense savory to, intense sweetness. A real retro classic.
Yep.
Ambrosia.
Yes. And this recipe is the absolute definition of assembly required. There's no actual cooking at all.
It's a cultural touchstone, really. It shows that mid-century reliance on canned goods as an accelerator.
Totally. It's grated coconut, 20 ounces of canned pineapple tidbits, a teaspoon of lemon juice, and 2 peeled segmented oranges.
And the instructions are, almost comically simple. You put the pineapples in a dish, sprinkle the lemon juice into the oranges, add them to the pineapples, stir till it's well combined, and then you just cover it and refrigerate till it's chilled.
Zero active cooking time. It's all mechanical preparation. You're relying entirely on the pre-processed nature of that canned fruit.
And the lemon juice is pretty important, I'm guessing.
It's critical, not just for a little bit of tartness, but it's like an insurance policy against the oranges browning while it chills. The cooking, in a way, happens when all those flavors meld in the cold. It all depends on you having those canned components ready to go.
Okay, now we get to the one that I find the most intellectually perplexing. The Amish dish.
It is a bold combination, a true no-cook spread.
The ingredient list reads like a dare. You've got 8 ounces of cream cheese, a can of tuna, black pepper, half a cup of mayonnaise, half a cup of chopped pitted olives, 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, and half a cup of chopped walnuts or almonds.
I know it sounds odd.
Tuna, cream cheese, olives, and nuts. It sounds like a culinary contradiction. What's the genius here that holds this whole thing together?
The genius is in the strategic use of texture and binding agents.
Okay.
So the cream cheese and the mayonnaise, those are your fat and acid components. They give you that smooth, cohesive structure so it spreads nicely on bread.
Right, the binder.
Exactly. The tuna is the savory protein base, but the olives and the nuts, those are the critical textural accents. The olives give you that briny saltiness and a soft chew, and then the walnuts or almonds bring that essential crunch you need to contrast with the heavy, soft base.
So it's a play on textures, even if the flavors seem all over the place.
A very sophisticated one. And the ultimate instruction is just combine all ingredients, mix very well. Best when served with bread.
It leverages all these strong, separate flavors that somehow come together under that creamy, fatty binder. That's a pretty powerful insight for quick dips. So to wrap up this section, let's look at the simple brilliance of the baked potato topper.
This is pure, unadulterated convenience. It's all about enhancing something you already have.
It's 16 ounces of sour cream, 2 cups of shredded cheddar cheese, 3 ounces of crumbled bacon, and a bunch of chopped green onions.
And again, we're seeing that reliance on components that need almost no prep. The only real labor is chopping the green onions. Exactly. The instruction is to combine the sour cream, cheese, onions, and bacon in a medium bowl, stir it thoroughly, and refrigerate. If you buy pre-crumbled bacon and pre-shredded cheese, your active time is basically 0.
It's a blueprint for just maximizing taste.
Yeah.
You've got the fat from the sour cream and cheese, the smoky flavor from the bacon, all through pure assembly.
It really sets the tone. Time savings come from not cooking, but from efficiently using these high-impact components.
So if our foundational layer showed us that convenience in sauces is about fast stabilization and big flavor, when we move into desserts, the strategy, it shifts a little bit.
It does. Here, quick recipes substitute the physical labor like, kneading dough or whipping egg whites by using convenient starter items. And the main one is the classic humble box mix.
This is a masterclass in ingredient substitution for speed.
It really is. The Apple Cobbler is a perfect place to start. It uses a box of yellow cake mix for double duty. It just eliminates the entire process of making a traditional pastry or a crumb topping from scratch.
Okay, let's break down the method. You start with 6 medium peeled sliced part apples, 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar, and a teaspoon of cinnamon.
Right.
Then a portion of the cake mix, specifically just 1/4 of it, gets sprinkled over them and tossed until the apples are coated.
And that initial coating is so smart. It's not a full batter. It's more like a light dust that starts to thicken the apple liquid as it bakes, which stops the cobbler from getting too watery.
And that bakes for 30 minutes at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Then you use the rest of the cake mix for the shortcut topping.
The true shortcut, yeah. You combine it with half a cup of melted butter until large crumbs form. Then you sprinkle that over the partially baked apples and bake it for another 20 minutes.
So one ingredient, the cake mix, has created 2 totally different textures. You get a thickened base and a crumbly golden topping.
And that's the genius of it. The speed comes from that mix's ready-made blend of flour, leaveners, and sugar. The melted butter just soaks into it, creating a quick, rich crumb that browns up beautifully in that final 20 minutes.
Minimal prep time for what feels like a pretty classic dessert.
Exactly.
Okay, so moving on to the banana quick bakes, we see 2 really different approaches to speed. The banana oatmeal cookies still require some creaming, but they prioritize quick cooking ingredients.
They do. You're still creaming, shortening, and sugar, adding spices like salt, nutmeg, and cinnamon, and an egg. But the key is adding a whole cup of mashed bananas, which gives you moisture and flavor.
But the dry ingredients are where the speed comes in, right?
Yeah.
1 3/4 cups of quick cooking oats and 1½ cups of flour.
Precisely.
So why are quick cooking oats so essential here? The bake time is only 10 to 15 minutes at 350 degrees.
Because regular rolled oats would stay, kind of chewy or even a bit raw in that shorter time. Quick cooking oats are pre-steamed and rolled thinner, so they hydrate and soften much, much faster. It ensures you get a tender texture within that brief baking window.
It's a tiny ingredient adjustment that makes the whole recipe work on a quick timeline.
It's a perfect micro adjustment, yeah.
Now, you contrast that with the totally no-bake approach of the banana wafer pudding.
Yeah.
This looks layered and complex, but it's all instant stuff.
This one leverages the power of instant stabilization. You're combining a 14-ounce can of sweetened condensed milk and a pack of instant vanilla pudding mixed with water, just beating it till it's smooth.
And that condensed milk does more than just add sweetness.
Oh, yeah. It adds sweetness and richness, but also body. It keeps the final pudding from being too loose or watery.
Then you whip 2 cups of thick cream until you get stiff peaks and fold that into the chilled pudding mix.
And that folded cream is what gives it that light, almost ethereal texture. It feels less dense than a traditional custard.
But here's the clever technical bit.
Yeah.
You dip the 3 sliced bananas into half a cup of lemon juice before you layer them.
That's not about flavor. That is a necessary step to stop enzymatic browning. For a chilled dessert that might be sitting around for a few hours, that little 30-second step preserves the visual appeal. It stops the bananas from getting that mushy brown look. It's a little dose of food science for a huge visual payoff.
That detail is brilliant. Okay, so this idea of efficiency in mixing is probably most dramatic with the dump cakes and the brownies. The blueberry dump cake is famous for its lack of technique.
It's almost an anti-recipe. You layer 4 cups of blueberries in the pan, cover it with a box of yellow cake mix, and then you get the core instruction.
You pour melted butter all over but never stir.
Never stir.
Why is that non-action so critical for a dump cake to work?
Well, if you stirred it, you just have a standard batter, right? It would defeat the whole purpose. By pouring that half a cup of melted butter over the dry mix, the fat selectively saturates the flour and sugar. So as it bakes for half an hour at 350, the saturated parts bake into a dense, crisp, crumble-like crust, while the dry powder underneath sort of puffs up. It creates that classic dump cake texture where the crust is totally distinct from the fruit layer. It's chemistry over technique.
And we see a similar streamlining in the brownies. Just 4 main ingredients, a cup of white sugar, 16 ounces of Hershey's chocolate syrup, 4 well-beaten eggs, and 1 1/4 cups of flour.
Right.
The instruction is just combine all of the ingredients, then beat for 3 minutes, and then straight into the oven.
3 minutes of beating is all you get. This recipe is leaning on that 16 ounces of chocolate syrup to provide most of the flavor, the moisture, and the richness. You're skipping the whole process of melting butter and chocolate, which adds a lot of time and cleanup.
So the syrup is the convenience factor.
It's immediate incorporation, ensuring you get a quick, fudgy result in 30 to 35 minutes of baking.
So let's explore the last bit of this section. The no-bake and unique methods. The Cocoa Crunchy peanut butter cookies, they skip the oven completely.
They do, and they use a brief, intense stovetop boil instead. This is a classic confectionery shortcut.
Okay.
You boil the structural parts, salt, cocoa, butter, water, and sugar, for exactly 60 seconds. The goal isn't a long simmer, it's just to reach a specific temperature to make sure the sugar is fully dissolved so the final cookie will set up properly.
Then you pull it off the heat and add the flavor and bulk. Peanut butter, oats, and vanilla.
And that leftover heat is just enough to melt the peanut butter and soften the oats, which then act as a binder. You drop them onto wax paper to harden, and that's it. It's an instant heat set method, no chilling or baking required.
And finally, the Caribbean fudge pie. This one introduces some instant flavor boosters into a quick bake.
Right. First off, by starting with the store-bought 9-inch pie pastry, you've already eliminated the hardest part of making a pie.
True.
So the filling is just a fast assembly of melted chocolate morsels, creamed butter, brown sugar, eggs, and then 2 very specific ingredients, instant coffee and rum-based flavoring.
Why the instant coffee? Is it just for a caffeine kick or?
Not at all. This is a great culinary insight. Instant coffee, or espresso powder, is a huge flavor enhancer in chocolate baking.
Huh.
On a chemical level, the bitterness of the coffee deepens the natural flavor of the chocolate. It makes the final result taste much richer, more complex, without actually tasting like coffee.
So you get a deep fudge flavor fast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Plus, you get that aromatic lift from the rum flavoring. It's a high-impact, low-moisture flavor boost, baked quickly at 375 degrees.
Okay, so our journey through desserts really showed that the boxed mix is the ultimate cheat code for baking.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as we move into savory mains, we see that same philosophy, but the cheat code changes. It shifts to the convenience of refrigerated dough and the complexity you can find in prepared canned sauces.
Exactly right. When speed is the #1 priority, ground beef becomes the workhorse. It cooks fast, it drains easily. The barbecue beef cups are a perfect demonstration.
Right, it takes a standard ground beef filling and puts it into a high-speed pre-made container.
The filling is simple. 3/4 of a pound of lean ground beef, half a cup of barbecue sauce, and a tablespoon of dried minced onion. But the hack is using that refrigerated biscuit dough, the grands.
The steps are so streamlined. You brown the meat, drain it, simmer it with the sauce to get that flavor in there. Then you flatten the biscuits, press them into muffin cups, and you have these little individual ready-to-bake pie shells.
And it completely bypasses all the labor of making a pot pie crust or any kind of bread from scratch.
And the baking time is incredibly short. It's about 15 minutes total, with an extra 3 minutes after you sprinkle some cheese on top.
15 minutes for a hearty baked main course is really impressive. And that speed depends entirely on the rapid rise nature of that refrigerated dough and the fact that the filling is already hot when it goes in. The oven is just there to bake the crust and melt the cheese.
Okay, next up, the BBQ meatballs. This one introduces a simple but really effective glazing strategy.
Right. The meatballs themselves are standard quick prep. You've got a pound of hamburger, milk, onion, egg, breadcrumbs, salt, pepper. You form 12 meatballs and brown them.
But the speed trick is in that sauce base. It's half a cup of brown sugar, 8 ounces of tomato sauce, 2 tablespoons of vinegar, and a teaspoon of seasoned salt.
It's a very acidic, very sugary mix, and it's designed for rapid flavor development.
You pour that right over the brown meatballs and just simmer for 10 to 15 minutes.
And that short simmer is all it needs because of the high sugar and acid content. As the liquid evaporates, the sugars caramelize, and the whole thing thickens into this glossy, intensely flavored glaze. It coats the pre-cooked meatballs and gives you that deep BBQ flavor without the hour-long braise you'd need for a more complex sauce.
Okay, so let's look at the philosophy of casseroles and one-pot meals. They are the definition of efficiency.
They are. The beef goulash gives you a stew-like experience in under 20 minutes of simmering.
Which seems impossible.
It's possible because of the ingredient selection. So after you cook the 2 pounds of ground beef, you're adding a can of beef gravy, a big can of chopped tomatoes with their liquid, water, Worcestershire sauce.
But the real speed component is the 3 cups of frozen carrots and beans and the 8 ounces of uncooked egg-based noodles.
That's the key. You bring it all to a boil and then simmer for only 8 minutes. The egg noodles are crucial because they cook so much faster than other pastas. And with the frozen vegetables, which are already blanched, the whole meal finishes at the exact same time.
So you get the hearty feel of a long simmered stew with almost no actual cooking time.
Exactly.
But I have to challenge that a little. When you're relying on canned beef gravy and a bunch of frozen and canned stuff, are you trading true depth of flavor for that speed?
That's the inherent trade-off, isn't it? It's convenience cuisine.
Yeah.
You do sacrifice the nuanced background flavors you get from a slow reduction or homemade stock.
Yeah.
But you compensate by using ingredients with pre-existing intensity. The concentrated flavor of canned tomatoes, the depth of Worcestershire sauce, the instant richness of canned gravy. The flavor profile is intense and immediate, even if it's not subtle.
Okay, that makes sense. And the beef stew in a hurry takes that convenience philosophy even further.
This one is the absolute epitome of the canned goods strategy. It uses canned carrots, whole canned potatoes, canned green beans, and 3 cups of pre-cooked cut-up beef.
And the liquid is cleverly made from the reserved liquid from the drained vegetables.
Yep, and then it's thickened up with flour and an envelope of dried onion soup mix.
That dried onion soup mix is basically an instantaneous flavor bomb, isn't it?
Totally. A traditional stew needs you to build an aromatic base, brown meat, deglaze the pan, make a roux. Here, the onion soup mix instantly provides the depth, the salt, and the aromatic punch of sautéed onions and herbs. It just eliminates all that prep.
So once the liquid boils and thickens, you just add the cooked stuff back in and heat it for 10 minutes.
That's it. It shows that the key to these rapid, hearty meals isn't reducing complexity, it's outsourcing it to prepackaged goods.
Okay, so now for the ultimate high-heat speed strategy, the stir-fry.
Stir-fries are all about high heat and smart prep time. When you look at the beef and vegetable stir-fry, the speed is engineered through careful component control.
Right, you mix the sauce first. Beef bouillon, low-salt soy sauce, dry white wine, cornstarch, ginger, and pepper.
And that cornstarch is the hero. It provides instant thickening without having to simmer off a bunch of water.
Then, the meat, a pound of lean sirloin sliced into thin 2-inch strips, cooks for just 3 to 4 minutes.
That thin slice is critical. You maximize the surface area so it cooks through almost instantly. You barely cook it before you take it out. Then you cook the frozen mixed veggies. And finally, you return the meat and add that cornstarch sauce.
And in the last 2 or 3 minutes, the sauce thickens and the meat finishes cooking.
The entire active skillet time is under 15 minutes.
So the reliance on frozen vegetables and thin-cut meat is the physical accelerator. But the beef and vegetables recipe is even faster because it uses pre-cooked roast beef.
Yes, another key strategy. Cooking only needs to happen once. If you start with 2 cups of cubed cooked roast beef, you're just focused on heating and saucing. You cook 16 ounces of frozen veggies for about 3 minutes.
And the sauce is just a cup of stir-fry sauce thickened with a teaspoon of cornstarch.
That's it. Once the sauce and meat are in, you cover it and cook for only 5 to 8 minutes more. Since the beef is already tender, you're just bringing it up to temperature and making sure the sauce sticks.
This whole section really proves that for beef dishes, speed means maximizing the flavor in the sauce while minimizing the cook time for the protein.
Whether by pre-slicing it for stir-fry or pre-cooking it for a stew.
Okay, so we've established that beef speed comes from ground texture and prepared sauces. Now, when we shift to chicken and seafood, a new strategy seems to emerge.
It does. It becomes about how to introduce these exotic or complex global flavors using things like glazes, dry rubs, and really rapid heat with minimal effort.
The focus shifts from using condensed soups for structure to using these highly concentrated, high-sugar, high-acid ingredients for glazes.
A perfect example is the apricot chicken. It uses a really high roasting temperature of 425 degrees Fahrenheit.
And the glaze is rich. Half a cup of preserved apricots, half a cup of dried apricots, soy sauce, and minced garlic. And you rub this all over skinless, boneless chicken breasts.
That high heat is the accelerator. When you roast the chicken for just half an hour, the instructions say to baste it frequently.
I see.
That constant application of the sugary, acid-rich glaze lets the sugars caramelize very quickly and form this deep, rich crust on the outside. You're getting the depth of flavor you might get from a long marinade in a slow braise, but you compress it into 30 minutes using intense heat and sugar.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, moving into the very temperature-sensitive world of seafood, speed has to be absolute.
It does. The blackened snapper with lime oil relies on pure, intense heat and flavoring the surface.
Blackening is the ultimate high-speed cooking technique, isn't it?
It really is. You take a 6-ounce snapper fillet, coat it heavily in a 1/4 cup of Cajun spice mix, brush it with melted butter, and cook it in a super hot skillet. The high heat just instantly sears the spices onto the fish, creating this dense, crusty layer of flavor in minutes.
And since the fillet is thin, it cooks through almost instantly.
Exactly. And the dipping sauce that goes with it, mayonnaise, garlic salt, lime juice, is assembled in seconds. It provides that cool, acidic counterpoint.
It's the perfect high-low technique. Intense, rapid heat on the protein and zero heat, pure assembly on the sauce.
And the bourbon glazed salmon follows a similar principle of rapid sauce reduction.
The glaze is simple but powerful. Fat-free, low-salt chicken stock, tomato paste, bourbon, and honey.
That glaze has everything you need for rapid flavor adhesion. You have sugar from the honey, acid from the bourbon and tomato paste, and a thickener in the tomato paste.
And you simmer the salmon fillets right in the mix for 3 minutes per side.
Right, and the instruction is explicit. It's done when the sauce has reduced into a thick glaze. 6 minutes of aggressive simmering gives you a sophisticated, rich flavor. The fish and the sauce finish at the exact same time. That's the mark of high efficiency.
And then we see some real global flavor ambition in the Caribbean pineapple chicken. This one has multiple steps, but each one is short and deliberate.
The goal here is a vibrant, multi-layered flavor profile. The glaze is complex. Water, honey, soy sauce, lime juice, coconut extract, red pepper.
And the chicken is floured and browned first.
Right. A quick sear to seal in moisture and build a base layer of flavor. Then the glaze goes over and the chicken simmers for 12 to 15 minutes.
And that simmering time is where the magic happens.
It is. The chicken cooks through while soaking up all those sweet, salty, and acidic notes. And crucially, the recipe includes an accompanying carabia rice.
Which is also fast.
Also fast. You boil the rice with water, unsweetened coconut milk, a bay leaf, and Tabasco. It cooks for 20 minutes, covered. So even for a meal with multiple parts, the components are either quickly seared or simmered at the same time in a flavor-rich liquid.
This concept of the instant glaze really seems to hit its peak with the cranberry chicken.
This sauce is truly instantaneous. You've got a cup of whole cranberry sauce, soy sauce, red wine, grated ginger root, crushed garlic, and pepper. The cranberry sauce is the key. It's already sweet, tart, and thick.
So you just heat it until it melts and mixes.
And you've created a fully integrated sauce base in just minutes. The chicken is lightly dredged in flour, sautéed for 5 minutes per side, and then you pour that pre-made sauce over it and simmer for just 1 to 2 minutes.
1 to 2 minutes.
Think about that. In 60 to 120 seconds, that entire flavor profile, tart, cranberry, rich wine, spicy ginger, umami soy, is delivered onto the already cooked chicken. It's a spectacular example of using concentrated, pre-flavored ingredients to eliminate all that time.
Okay, finally, let's use the Brunswick stew as a kind of philosophical contrast. It starts with a huge time commitment: stewing, deboning, and cutting up a whole chicken.
Right. This recipe acknowledges that sometimes quality protein requires an investment of time. But once the meat is ready, the recipe shifts completely to the convenience philosophy.
So you're using canned condensed tomato soup, a small can of tomatoes, a can of lima beans, a can of whole kernel corn.
It's the cook the hard part once, leverage the easy parts always strategy.
I like that.
Once the broth and vegetables are simmering and the potatoes are tender, the final step is rapid. You thicken the stew with a simple slurry of ice water and flour to get the consistency you want. It just shows that quick cuisine isn't always about zero cooking. It's about strategically limiting your time commitment to only the most necessary parts and then accelerating the rest with shelf-stable stuff.
Okay, so if the dinner strategy is leveraging canned complexity, the breakfast strategy is about ruthlessly minimizing active prep time.
Absolutely. Time is the scarcest resource in the morning, and these recipes show that speed applies to everything from savory wraps to sweet bakes.
The breakfast burritos are a perfect example. They leverage eggs, which are basically nature's fast food.
Totally. The recipe is simple. 4 turkey bacon slices, 2 flour tortillas, and a filling of 1 large egg white, some shredded sharp cheddar, and chopped green chilies.
And the egg cooking time is the crucial factor here. The recipe says to stir the egg and chili mixture in a heated skillet for only 2 minutes until it's set.
2 minutes! That's the speed metric. By using a single egg white, which reduces the volume, and stirring constantly over high heat, the recipe ensures a super rapid protein cook. The whole assembly is engineered to happen in under 10 minutes.
Then we see the clever repurposing of commercial components in the dough-based breakfasts. The breakfast monkey bread is a brilliant shortcut using refrigerated biscuits.
This is the baking equivalent of the BBQ beef cups. You quarter 4 small cans of layered-style biscuits, roll them in a mix of 1 1/4 cups of sugar and 5 teaspoons of cinnamon, layer them in cake pans, and top them with melted margarine. You're using the ready-made puff and structure of that biscuit dough.
But there's a vital, very specific technical note here. It is to preheat the oven 25 degrees lower than the directions on the biscuit can. Why that precise temperature drop?
That is critical for managing the high sugar load. If you baked it at the standard temperature, all that cinnamon and sugar on the outside would burn or caramelize way too quickly before the center of the dough is fully cooked. Lowering the temperature slows that browning process down just enough to let the biscuits rise and cook all the way through.
So you get that soft, pull-apart texture without a scorched outside. It's a subtle but essential adjustment.
It is.
Okay, the breakfast pita pockets emphasize speed in the filling itself.
Here, you're relying on pre-cooked, diced potatoes. You sauté them for 5 minutes until they're lightly browned. Then you reduce the heat and gently mix in 2 large eggs for only 45 seconds until they're firm.
45 seconds. That's got to be relying on the heat from the potatoes.
Exactly. The pre-cooked potatoes are the heat source. They transfer their heat to the egg mixture and give you a near instantaneous set. You're not starting the egg in a cold skillet, which dramatically accelerates the cook time before you stuff the warmed pita bread.
Even traditional recipes, like the cornmeal waffles, are focused on a fast batter structure.
This is just a classic rapid bread method. You combine yellow cornmeal, flour, baking powder, sugar, and salt. Add the liquid components milk, melted butter, eggs, and blend it quickly.
And the baking powder is the key.
It's the chemical leavener. It provides an instant rise as soon as that batter hits the hot waffle iron. There's zero resting time needed. The reaction is immediate and explosive when you add heat.
And finally, the Corner Bakery French toast. This uses the casserole method, which is a slow, passive cook for a fast, active prep.
This is a fantastic strategy for meal prep efficiency. It uses 14 thick slices of day-old cinnamon raisin bread. And using day-old bread is key.
Because it's drier.
Exactly. It's drier and more robust, so it can soak up the custard base without just collapsing into mush. It gives you the structural integrity you need for a casserole.
And the custard base is unusual. It has whipped cream in it.
That's the texture hack. The custard is half and half: sugar, cinnamon, beaten eggs, vanilla, and a cup of whipped cream. That cream adds a lightness and richness that a standard milk and egg mix just doesn't have.
So you assemble it quickly, maybe the night before, and the oven does all the long, passive work in the morning.
Making your morning effort minimal. It's brilliant.
Okay, this next section is where we really define what I'm now calling the canned soup economy.
I love that.
If beef used canned stuff for flavor accents, chicken uses it for the entire creamy structure of the meal. The goal is to transform simple chicken into diverse main dishes using store-bought convenience.
We can't overstate how important canned soups and instant ingredients are in these casseroles. It just eliminates the need to make a bechamel or a roux or a slow reduction to get that creamy, cohesive texture.
Let's start with the Mexican-inspired dishes. The chicken burritos use a pound of raw, thinly sliced chicken cooked in oil for 3 to 4 minutes.
The speed here relies on two things: that thin slicing for fast cooking and the seasoning mix. After the initial cook, you add the seasoning mix and 1 1/4 cups of water and simmer for only 3 to 4 minutes more.
And that seasoning mix has a thickener in it already.
A crucial high volume of starch, like cornstarch or flour. It provides instant viscosity to the liquid. The whole mixture thickens up super rapidly, ready to wrap into 8 tortillas in under 10 minutes of active skillet time.
The chicken ranch wraps are even more efficient. They require no raw cooking at all.
That's pure reheat and assembly. You start with 2 cups of cooked and diced chicken. The sauce is just sour cream heated with sliced black olives and an envelope of dressing mix.
And you just heat it all through.
You add the chicken, heat it through, and wrap it. The cooking is just bringing the components up to serving temperature. It minimizes all friction.
Okay, now for casserole convenience. The cheesy ham and veggie bake combines cooked vegetables, 2 cups of cooked rice, and 2 cups of chopped ham.
And the binding agent is a can of cheddar cheese soup mixed with sour cream.
The canned soup is the real hero here, isn't it?
It's the unheralded hero. It's pre-thickened, pre-seasoned, and highly stable. By mixing it with sour cream, you instantly create a rich, creamy matrix without having to measure flour or melt butter or stand over a whisk.
You just combine it, top it with half a cup of breadcrumbs, and bake it passively for 30 to 35 minutes.
Exactly, until it's hot and the topping is crisp.
The ultimate layering of convenience is maybe the chicken divan casserole.
This is a textbook example of outsourcing every single component. The layers are a frozen rice medley, 10 ounces of frozen broccoli with butter sauce.
Prepared according to the package directions, of course.
Of course. And 2 cups of cubed cooked chicken. The sauce layer is a cup of pre-made Alfredo sauce, which, as we already established, is itself a 5-minute quick sauce.
So we have pre-cooked vegetable mixes, pre-cooked protein, and pre-made sauce, all just layered and baked.
Correct. It requires virtually no sauce prep. You top it with a cup of grated Parmesan and bake for 25 to 30 minutes. This recipe proves that the highest form of convenience is just buying the ingredients in their most advanced state and then combining them for a final heating step.
The stovetop methods, though, show the most drastic speed cuts. Let's look at the hyper-speed comfort food that is creamy chicken and noodles.
This is instant gratification. You cook 16 ounces of white egg noodles until they're al dente.
About 8 to 10 minutes.
Then you drain them, return them to the pot with some pepper and garlic salt, 2 cans of condensed cream of mushroom soup, and 2 cans of drained chicken chunks.
And the total heat time is 5 minutes.
5 minutes. The condensed nature of that soup is the secret. It's already super viscous and intensely flavored. It immediately coats the noodles and chicken, creating a thick, comforting sauce that just needs to be heated through. No reduction, no thickening, just immediate thermal mixing.
And for something with a more complex flavor, the chicken curry in a hurry uses a fascinating technique that co-cooks the rice and chicken.
It does. The flavor base is a spice mix curry, mustard, sugar, pepper. You coat the chicken in some of that. Then, the unconventional liquid chicken stock and orange-flavored juice is combined with the rest of the seasoning and uncooked long-grain rice in a skillet.
So the uncooked rice and chicken simmer together in that flavored liquid. That's the key to getting it all done at once.
It is. You bring it to a boil, add the chicken, reduce the heat, and simmer it covered for 15 minutes. The rice cooks, the chicken cooks, and they absorb that curry and orange flavor simultaneously. For the final 10 minutes, you throw in 10 ounces of frozen peas for a vegetable boost.
A complete, flavorful one-pan meal in 25 minutes of passive cooking. Okay, before we move on, 2 final unique chicken preps that rely on intense heat or pre-cooking. The chili and cornmeal-crusted chicken is a perfect example of how a technique, not just ingredients, dictates speed.
The technique here is physical acceleration. You pound the chicken breasts thin to about a 1/4 inch thickness. This dramatically increases the surface area.
And the coating is cornmeal, chili seasoning, cumin, salt, and pepper, applied over an egg wash.
Pounding the chicken ensures it cooks super rapidly. When you cook it in oil, the chicken is done and the cornmeal crust is crispy in a quick 10 minutes. Pounding the meat is a low-effort way to cut your cook time in half.
And finally, chicken fried rice uses that strategy of layering intense aromatics onto pre-cooked staples.
Fried rice is fundamentally dependent on using pre-cooked, chilled rice. The speed comes from sautéing the aromatics, ginger, garlic, bell pepper, red pepper flakes, briefly over high heat, then adding the egg substitute.
Then you just mix in the 3 cups of cooked rice, the cooked chicken, soy sauce, and sugar.
And cook until it's all heated through. The process is minutes long because everything you add, apart from those initial aromatics, is essentially already ready to eat.
Okay, we are wrapping up our deep dive with the lowest friction categories of all. Salads, snacks, appetizers. Things that are either pure assembly or rely on incredibly brief, intense heat.
These are the ultimate expressions of efficiency. And let's start with a dish that seems simple, but has a fascinating specific technical instruction for the dressing, the Caesar salad.
Right. The time commitment is all focused on creating a stable dressing foundation.
The famous detail is mashing garlic and 2 small anchovies together into a paste. And the recipe specifies using 2 forks to do it.
Why 2 forks? What's the magic there?
That detail is key. The 2 forks are replacing a food processor or a mortar and pestle. By mashing the ingredients manually, you create that initial necessary base emulsion, that pungent paste that will bind the egg yolk, lemon juice, Dijon, and Worcestershire sauce.
So when you add the olive oil, it stabilizes faster.
Exactly. You add it gradually while whisking vigorously, and you get a perfect dressing. The shortcut here isn't the ingredients. It's the low-tech, high-impact technique for the base.
In stark contrast to that, the carrot raisin salad is pure, simple assembly.
Minimal assembly at its finest. 3 cups of grated carrots, 1 cup of seedless raisins. The dressing is just mayonnaise, milk, honey, lemon juice, and salt.
No heat, no complex ratios.
It's just mixing, stirring, and chilling. It relies entirely on the strong, sweet, and tangy flavors of the individual components to create the final dish.
For quick cooking sides, the candied carrots, they have an initial 20 to 30-minute boil, but the finish is incredibly fast.
The initial boil is necessary to tenderize the carrots. You can't really accelerate that. But once they're drained, the process shifts to speed candying. You reduce the heat, and the carrots are quickly coated and caramelized with butter, brown sugar, salt, and pepper for just 3 to 5 minutes until the sugar bubbles.
It's a fast caramelization engineered for rapid adherence and shine. Finally, we get to the ultimate fast appetizer hacks. The cheese and corn quesadillas use short, aggressive bursts of oven heat.
This is highly efficient. 4 flour tortillas are filled with Monterey Jack cheese, a can of drained corn, and diced Roma tomatoes. You bake them at 350 for about 4 minutes until the cheese melts and the tortilla is pliable.
Then you fold them, flip them, and bake for 5 minutes more.
Under 10 minutes of baking time for a hot, complex-filled appetizer. You're leveraging the oven for fast, even heat, making sure the inside melts before the tortilla dries out.
And the crescent twist appetizers use refrigerated dough, showcasing that convenience hack one last time.
It's the final application of pre-made structure. A can of crescent rolls is separated into rectangles, layered with butter, Parmesan and cheddar, and garlic salt.
Then they're cut into 10 half-inch strips, twisted 5 or 6 times, and baked for 10 to 12 minutes.
And that crescent dough ensures a quick rise and flake, while the high fat and cheese coating deliver intense, savory flavor instantly.
And then there is the undisputed champion of low-effort food, the pinnacle of convenience cuisine.
The chili cheese fries.
This recipe is really a philosophical statement on leveraging processing.
Mm-hmm.
It tells you to cook frozen fries according to the package, and the topping is a microwave can of chili without beans and a microwaved half jar of pasteurized processed cheese sauce.
It is.
Let's dive into the technical function of that processed cheese sauce. Why use a jar instead of, real cheese and milk?
This is a crucial culinary insight into stability.
Yeah.
Natural cheese and milk, especially when you microwave them rapidly, they tend to separate. The fat and protein break down, it gets grainy, it pools. It's a mess. The processed cheese sauce is engineered to have a stable, highly viscous texture that heats evenly and maintains its creamy, thick consistency when you put it on hot fries.
So it's pure convenience engineering.
It provides a stable, uniform, and rapidly melting topping that you just can't easily replicate with natural dairy in a high-speed, minimal prep environment.
So reviewing this entire collection, from that 5-minute Alfredo to the extreme reliance on pre-made everything in the chicken divan, the methodology is just crystal clear.
It is. The philosophy is built on the strategic use of convenience ingredients. Canned soups, cake mixes, refrigerated dough, instant starches, they aren't compromises. They're accelerators that drastically cut down your active prep time.
And what's equally clear and really critical for you to internalize as a learner is the mastery of thermal efficiency. We saw aggressive short burst cooking, pounding chicken thin, high heat blackening, that 60-second stovetop boil. But we also saw passive cooking used strategically, the long hands-off chill time for ambrosia or the pre-assembly of that French toast casserole.
The goal is always to achieve the maximum flavor extraction or structural change in the shortest amount of time possible.
The true insight here, I think, is understanding the pattern of convenience. These recipes prove you can get maximum flavor diversity Cajun, Caribbean, Italian, BBQ with minimum friction.
All by strategically choosing those high-impact, pre-processed components that eliminate the need for the traditional, time-consuming foundational steps.
Absolutely. So the next step is synthesis. You now understand the blueprints of speed. Considering the sheer variety of ingredients and preparations we just covered, from the quick, stable simmer of the Alfredo sauce to the aggressive, high-flavor cornmeal crust of the chili and cornmeal-crusted chicken. What unique, rapid dinner could you design tonight by deliberately combining the base sauce from one recipe with the protein preparation method from another?
That's a great question.
That is the real power of being well-informed in the kitchen. Mastering the art of the efficient culinary fusion.